Today's something a little different. I really tried not to film a video all month this month. If you watch all my stuff, you know that everything that's been posted this month was filmed in October. So forgive me if I'm not remembering some of the things you're mentioning in the comments. I do try and rewatch the videos when they go up so that I can engage in conversation with you guys. But I am only human. I would also really appreciate it if you forgave me for the lighting in this entire video. I didn't really notice how bad it was when I was filming, but such is life sometimes. I would have refilmed this video. I just think towards the end, it's pretty honest, pretty emotional, and I wanted to share with you guys because I believe that one of the problems in this society is that we're not comfortable being vulnerable with each other. I have been doing a couple things this month. One of them was writing my next book, and halfway through the month I decided to start writing down some stuff about my life. And some of you may know that I've been somewhat suckered into this whole game trailer thing. And I love it, don't get me wrong. I'm having a really good time learning about all this stuff. But when I started this channel, my initial goal was to watch and react to every single Supernatural episode and talk about the monsters or mythology in each one. And there are a few of those videos up on my channel. I haven't watched them in a long time because I feel like they're probably so bad. I've learned a lot since then. Still working on the lighting thing though. And with 15 seasons, it would have taken me about 2.5 years. I think it was like if I did 4 videos a week or like 4 episodes a week, it would take me 2.5 years. I made this plan before I had edited anything and I didn't realize how long the process was. But anyways, all that to say, I love Supernatural. And if you do too, you know that last week it ended. And I wrote this chapter for my inevitable memoir and I wanted to share it with you guys. So that's what this video is going to be today. It's pretty personal. I read it to 2 friends of mine who I mentioned in this, and one of them was, before I read it to her, asked why I wanted to share this, and I hope that it's helpful to people or something. I don't know, and I'm probably going to get emotional while I'm reading it, but I printed it off and everything, old school. It was November 15th 2020 at 5:29 p.m. when I started to write this chapter, and I'd been crying for 20 minutes. What happened 20 minutes ago? 20 minutes ago, I'd finished watching Inherit the Earth, the 19th episode in the 15th season of Supernatural. It was Sunday. The episode had aired on Thursday. I thought it was the second last episode, but the way it ended, I started to cry. It seemed so final. IMDb said there was another episode, and I had watched the trailer saying there was a 2-hour season finale the following week. But in that moment, I was a mess. Was it the isolation of 2020 getting to me? Had I finally lost my mind? Maybe. Actually, no. No, that wasn't it at all. I fall in love with stories and characters, and I never want them to end. 15 years ago, I fell in love with Sam and Dean Winchester, and I just said goodbye. Television has always been my escape, and I love it. Now, I know how lucky I am to say this next bit, so don't get all righteous on me. The worst punishment my parents could ever bestow upon me was taking my 3-hour-a-week TV privileges away. 3 measly hours a week seems like nothing now, but then, man oh man, then it was everything. Then it was Gilmore Girls on Thursdays and a movie on the weekend. Or Charmed on Mondays, One Tree Hill on Tuesdays, and Queen of Swords on Sundays. Queen of Swords got bumped for the OC when that show started. I watched that one on Wednesdays. Or it was Prison Break on Mondays, Lost on Wednesdays, and Grey's Anatomy on Fridays. If I'd happened to have an hour left over because I'd watched something at a friend's and I missed Queen of Swords at 1 p.m., it would be Desperate Housewives on Sunday night. Add to that, almost every day of my high school years, I would watch Little Robots in the morning, Arthur and the Magic School Bus at lunch, and Passions after school. I'd watch these shows or a DVD if I was feeling risky with the volume so low so I could hear when my dad got home. I'd hear him turn off the TV and the DVD player, usually playing Buffy or Supernatural, and I would sprint upstairs to my room. Lunchtimes were a similar system. I borrowed Buffy on DVD from a friend. I bought the Supernatural seasons as fast as they came out. These shows were my lunchtime and after-school watches. Maybe on the weekends if one of my regular shows weren't on, or if my parents went out. Oh, and every weekend I'd escape to one of 2 houses. My twin best friends, let's call them Mary-Kate and Ashley. Except I want you to picture them 8 inches taller with red hair and playing right and left defense on their university hockey team. Or my other best friend's house, we'll call her Maria. And we would binge watch together. Maria got me into a lot of good shows. She's the one who lent me the Buffy DVDs. I am eternally grateful. Once in high school, I was grounded for failing math and I wasn't allowed to watch TV for 4 months. I still don't think the punishment fit the crime. I was still allowed to use the phone, so I phoned one of my high school friends, let's call her Harmony, on Thursday nights at 5 minutes to 8, right before the OC started. Harmony would put the phone by the TV so I could listen, and we would talk about what would happen during the commercials. That was a big time friend move. Thanks, Harmony. Good looking out. I was an addict. I still am. The difference is I understand the why behind my addiction now. Back then I was just in love. I was in love with the characters and the stories and the other worlds that I would enter when I watched. I saw each Lord of the Rings movie 3 times in theaters. I watched the special features on the extended edition DVDs more times than I care to admit. There was a time where I could list, in order, every single episode of season 3 from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I listened to Harry Potter on cassette to fall asleep almost every night. These characters were part of my life. They were my companions when I was feeling lonely. And these companions never got sick of me, not like everyone else. They never told me I was too big or too loud or too much like the rest of the world did. I could be with them day after day, night after night, and it was safe. They moved through their lives and I moved with them. They accepted me as I was and expected nothing from me but to be there, because that's what made them come alive. They didn't want me to be anything other than I was, and the rest of the world did. I realize this now, of course. I didn't before. I didn't know why I felt so uncomfortable in my own skin all of the time. I didn't know that these stories transported me to a place where that skin felt perfect, where no one wanted me to be someone else. A couple of years ago, when I was living and playing professional basketball in Paris, Mary-Kate came to visit me for a week. Our relationship had been a little rocky and I was excited for the opportunity to reconnect. One afternoon, we went out exploring the city. I had to go back to practice. Mary-Kate was going to keep wandering around. She'd made plans to meet up with some people she connected with through her couch surfing app. This seems super irrelevant to the TV thing, but I promise, I'll circle back. Do you know how late you'll be? I asked. Should I wait up for you after my practice or just go to sleep? Now, what I was really asking was, do you want me to come back downtown and meet up with you and these people? Or would you rather hang out with strangers than your best friend because you don't love me anymore? But she didn't know that. So when she said, yeah, I'm not sure how late I will be, don't wait up, I heard, yeah, I'm not sure I love you anymore and I'd rather hang out with strangers. I go to practice, as usual, it sucks. And then I go home to my empty apartment when all I want to do is hang out with Mary-Kate. I don't know if she wants to be my friend anymore, and I'm in my feelings. I don't know how to handle it. I call Ashley. And I cry. A lot. She tells me to talk to Mary-Kate about it. And I know I do, but it doesn't feel safe. Because Mary-Kate is going to tell me she doesn't want to be my friend anymore. Because I am too big and too much and too loud for people, and I always have been. I hear the key in the door. I wipe away my tears. I say goodbye to Ashley quick. And by the time Mary-Kate opens the door, I have my mask on. I'm fine. Practice was fine, and I'm watching something on YouTube. How was your night? I ask, testing the waters. It was fun, she says, and I hear confirmation. Confirmation that she was happier with strangers than with me. Cool, I say, even though it wasn't. We exchange more meaningless conversation. I turn back to my computer. She sits on the couch and looks at her phone. Further confirmation, I think. She's looking for another way to get away from me, and she's regretting she ever came to Paris. Our friendship is over. And that's when I break down. I cry and cry and cry and ask her why she didn't want me to join her. I cry and tell her everything I'm afraid of. And she cries too because she didn't know that I wasn't really asking if I should go to bed. She didn't know I would have gladly gone downtown to meet up with her. And we cry together and talk about our relationship. And then she says something that blows my mind. It blows my mind because that is the first time I realized she and I have been living in different realities of our relationship. You hung out with so many people in high school, she says. You had other groups of friends, not just us. I thought you would be around when you needed us. And when you weren't around, it's because you didn't want to be. I made sure I had other options, I tell her, so no one would ever get sick of me. Since that night, I have reflected on that conversation and on the relationships I've had with my friends. I realize now where this fear I have, this fear that people don't actually like me, comes from. I started realizing this when I was first playing basketball in France, but even more so after I had this conversation with Mary-Kate. I am a pretty good communicator. I usually reach out to people more than they reach out to me. I internalized this to mean that they didn't want me around. I internalized this to mean that they were more important to me than I was to them. But no, that was just perception and habit. Perception that I had other places to be and other people to be with. This, in turn, created the habit in Mary Kate of not reaching out or thinking that I didn't need her. That habit enforced my perception that she didn't want me around. And on it goes. In high school, I'd go to a different group of friends. I wouldn't stay long. I didn't want them to get sick of me either. And I could feel it when they did, or at least I thought I could. I thought I could feel it, so I left before it happened. And I'd leave behind the perception that I had better places to be. And where would I go? What would those better places be? You guessed it. A story, a book, a movie, a TV show. A place where my friends never got sick of me and I was never too big or too much or too loud like I was everywhere else in my life. One Tree Hill started on September 23rd, 2003. A few weeks after I'd started grade 9. The characters were in grade 10. If memory serves, seasons 2 and 3, the characters were in their grade 11 year. And in season 4, they were in grade 12. By that time, so was I. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone came out in 1997. I didn't know it existed until 1998. I was 10, sitting cross-legged on the floor of my grade 4 classroom. Harry was 10 too, or at least he was at the start of the book. It was read to us by our teacher. I got the Chamber of Secrets in hardcover. It's right over there. My parents got the 4th one on cassette. We listened to it on the way to visit my great aunt and uncle in Connecticut. 4 girls in the car, and my parents said it was the quietest ride they ever had. I have a first edition of the 6th one. I was in England when it came out, visiting my grandmother's sister. We went to Paris for 3 days. I read it in the Louvre. My grandmother was pissed. I was 16 then, and so was Harry. High School Musical came out in 2006. I loved it. I was in musicals in high school, and I was on the basketball team, just like Troy. 2.5 years later, I went to the movies to see High School Musical 3 senior year with 2 girls from my residence. That was 2 months into my first year of university. I grew up with Harry Potter. I went to high school with Lucas and Nathan. I sang with Troy and Gabriella, and I fought monsters with Sam and Dean Winchester. I cried when Sirius died, and when Troy and Gabriella graduated. I cried when Nathan and Lucas played one last time on the river court, because I was saying goodbye to that part of my life too. And I cried when Sam and Dean got their happy ending. Now I'm fighting my demons without them. Fighting to get to a place in the real world where I feel as safe as I do in the world of stories. Trying to find my own happy ending. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I know that I was bugged so much by the big shadow on my face from that curl hanging in front of my head, but hopefully you guys weren't too bothered by it. I really appreciate it. You guys getting to the end of this video. I know that it's not what I usually do, but it's something that I wanted to share because I truly do believe that when we reflect on ourselves and the world in these ways and share this information, we know ourselves better, we know the people around us better. Being vulnerable is a strength, not a weakness. And I guess that's it. Buy my book if you want to. I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh, and of course, may the force be with you. Live long and prosper, and I'll be back.